What's up guys? In today's video I'm going to teach you and I'm going to show you how to create a MQL5 bot with the EMA indicator. It is very simple and you are going to see that it's super easy. So we are going to create it, and the first thing I want to show you is this is going to be in my GitHub. You just have to go to my profile, then to the trading bot repository, then you come here to the MQL5 and it's going to be here and it's going to be called EMA, like you will see that. So let's create it. The first thing that we have to do in order to create that is to have the MetaTrader 5 application. Once you have that, the first thing that we have to do is to use the IDE. So we click here in the IDE, and now what you have to do is to click on new. We are going to create a new expert advisor. So for that, we click on expert advisor, we give it a name, let's call it EMAs, and now we don't click any of these things. So the first thing that we have to do is to remove all this, and let's make this bigger. So whenever we want to do a bot in MQL5, we need handlers, and those handlers are the ones which are going to contain information about the indicators. So let's declare those handlers, and the handlers are integer numbers, and we're just going to say, for example, EMA 100. We are going to put here an age, let's initialize it to 0, and we are going to create another EMA of, for example, I don't know, 25, age, and 0. So here we are going to store those handlers and we are going to handle those things. So another thing we have to do is to create arrays in which we are going to store the information about those indicators. So we are going to do double EMA 100, and this array doesn't have any fixed size, so for example it is going to be like this, and we are going to do the same for the 25. So we declare this as an array, and now what we have to do is to initialize all those things. But when and where do we initialize all those things? In order to initialize those things, you have to use the event or the method on init. So here, what we are going to do is that whenever we open the bot, we are going to execute this function. And in this function is where we are going to initialize all the values. So what we are going to do now is to initialize the handlers, and we are going to do this. And in order to initialize a moving average, we have to use this function. So if we want more information about this function, we have to press F1. So we press F1 and we see that the first thing that we have to use is the symbol. Let's put, let's put this in a way so you can see this. So yeah, you have to put first the symbol, and in order to use the current symbol, we put an underscore, and now you put symbol. And this means that if you open the bot in a GDP, USD, whatever chart, it is going to use that chart. And if you open that in the Euro USD, you are going to load that in the Euro USD. So that's cool. Another thing you can do is that you can use the current period, and for that we can use again the underscore and period, and in order to we are going to take the values from the current period chart. So for example, if we are in a 15-minute, we are going to take the 15-minute period, and if we are in 1 hour, we are going to take the 1 hour. Also, if you want to change that and you want to use the, for example, 1 day, 1 hour, 12 hours, you can put this in this way. So for example, if you put this, you're going to use the 2 hours time frame. So let's put the current period, and now the next thing that we have to do is to put the moving average period. So this is 100, and now we have to say the shift. So this one is not going to have any shift, we are going to put 0, and now we have to put the method. This one is going to be an exponential moving average, so we put here EMA. The next thing that we have to do is to say the price in which you are going to apply this, and this is going to be applied in the price close. So another thing, well, the next thing that we have to do is to do the same for the 25 one. So for example, here the only thing that we just have to change is to put 25 and then initialize this with 25 values, because it is almost the same. The next thing that we have to do in this onInit function is returning, well, not returning, initializing the arrays as series. So we have to put here array set as series, and we have to put the array. So we put that, and we are going to put here true, and the same for the other array. So for example, here we have to put the EMA25, and now we initialize those arrays as a series. So another thing we have to do is to return init succeeded, and yeah, in this way you have done the first function, which is the onInit function. So every time we initialize the bot, we are going to load this. So the next thing that we have to do is to now we have to check the logic of the bot. So on every price change, we have to do something. And for that, what we have to do is, for example, we have to call another event, which is onTick. On every tick, on every price change, we have to do something. So we use this function, well, this event or function. And the first thing that we have to do is to use the copy buffer function. Here, what we have to do is to store the information of an indicator in the arrays. So for example, the first thing that we have to put is the handler. Now we have to save the buffer num, and this is important because, for example, if we go to the MetaTrader and we see, you can see here that this indicator, the MACD, has two values, has this one and this one. So the buffer num refers to which one do you want to take. So do you want to take the MACD or do you want to take the signal line? If you put a 0, I think it's the MACD, and if you put a 1, I think it's the signal line. But in moving average, let me see if I have any. Oh, for example, the RSI, here you only have one value. So you just have to take the 0 value, and that's why here in the buffer num, we're going to put a 0. Once you put that, we have to say from which point do we want to take values from. So for example, here we have a lot of candles, and if we say that we want to take values from the candle 0, it means that we are going to take values from this last candle. But if we say that we want to take values from the candle 1, we are going to take values from this candle, the previous one. So if you say that you want the 2, you are going to take from here, and from the 3, etc. So we are going to take from this one because this one is not moving, and because the last one is always moving, but the previous one is not. So we are going to take the values from that point, and we have to say that we have to take it from the 0, not the 0, the 1. So now we have to say how many do we want to take. So let's say that we want to take 5. And finally, we have to say where do we want to store that, and that is going to be stored in the EMA100. And again, this is exactly the same for the 25, but in this case, we just have to change the names of the variables. So we put here a 25, and that's it. Now we have the values of the indicator. So now what we have to do is to check the logic behind our operations and so on. So first thing that we have to check is if we have to open a buy or a sell. So for example, let's do here an if, and inside this if we are going to put the conditions for the buy. So if, let's say there's a cross. So for example, let's say that we have the 100, which is the long one, and we have here the small one, the 25. So if the 25 is below than the 100, and then at the next point it's above, it means that there was a cross. So then we will open a position. So we are going to say that if EMA 100, and we are going to say that if the previous value is above the EMA 25 previous value, and the next thing that happens is that the long one, is below, well, here it's a 0, not a 1. The current one is below the current one of the 25. Not exactly the current one, because if you remember, as I said before, we are taking from the one value, so we are checking the previous one, the one that is not moving. So if this happens, we are going to open a position. But later we will add some conditions, and you will see why. So we have to do the same for the cells, but here we just have to change the operators. And what do I mean by that? That, for example, we said that this is the long and this is the 25. So this is the 100 and the 25. If the 25 comes up the 100, we have to open a buy. But what if the 25 is here and the long is here? If the 25 comes down, we have to open a sell. So we just have to change these operators. So instead of comparing bigger or that, we just have to change these operators. So now we have to open the curly brackets, so you can put some code here, and you have to also open curly brackets here. So now let me check my repository of this, because I don't remember how to open operations, and yeah, you have to take some things. So for example, the first thing that you have to take is this library. So you have to include this library so you can open operations. So in order to do that, you come here, you put this, and now you have to create a special object to create operations. So let's copy all these three, and here we are going to copy, well, we are going to open operations. So okay, once we have these variables, let's explain what they do. So this variable comes from this library, and here this class, what it has is the needed information to open operation. So we declare this object, and this object contains all that. So here in this ulong variable, we are going to store the ticket of the operation. So it means that we are going to store the ID of the operation. Here we have one variable which is going to be a flag to check if some time has passed between operations. So let's continue. Now, if in case this condition is met for opening a position, we have to do this. So we have to declare a variable which is going to be the ask value of the market, and in order to take the information of that, we have to use the symbol info double function, and we have to take the current period. So for example, well, the current ask. So we use symbol, and then we use symbol ask. So here we are taking the ask. But the problem is that this function sometimes returns a lot of values, a number with a lot of digits. So we have to normalize that and set the number to the number of digits of the current market. For that, we are going to use the normalize double. And here we are going to send as the first argument what we take in the symbol info double, and the next thing is the digits, so the current digits of the market. So with this, we took the ask, and now we have to take the bid in case of a sell. So here we put bid, and instead of symbol ask, we are going to put symbol bid. And now we have the bid and the ask. So for example, now what we have to do is to set the take profit and the stop loss. So we are going to declare another variable which is going to be SL, that refers to stop loss, and we are going to make it simple. We are going to put here that the stop loss is going to be, in case of a buy, 100 points below the current price, the current ask. So for example, in order to say that 100 points below that, we put here 100, and we multiply it by the value, the current value of the point. So by that, we put it 100 points below. So the same happens for the take profit. So we have to put here TP, and we are going to put it, I don't know, 200 points above. So for example, we are going to put it here 200 points above. And now we are going to put here the same, but for the sales. But in the sales, remember that the stop loss is above and the take profit is below. So we have to add or subtract depending on what we are going to do. Now we have to open a position. So for that, we are going to use the trade object that we created, and we are going to call the method buy. And now we have to set the lottage. So for example, we are going to put 0.1. And here we have to put the symbol in which we want to open a position. Again, you have to use the symbol variable. This variable is very useful. The next thing is the current price, which is the ask. The next thing is the stop loss that we defined. So we put here SL, the next thing the take profit, and finally a comment that we are not going to put anything. So we put here null, and we have to open a sell in this case. So here we are going to put a sell, and here we put sell. But I think nothing changed. No, I think everything is okay. So once we have that, we need to store the trade ticket, the ID of the trade. So we have to put here that trade ticket is going to be trade. We use again the trade object, and we call the method result. I don't remember. Let me look in my GitHub. So you have to use the trade result order. So you use that method, and you will get the ticket of the current market, well, of the current trade. So this is the same for both operations. And yeah, that's basically it. That's basically what you have to do. Now, with this code, we have one problem. That is that we are allowing to open several positions in the same candle. And in fact, if you try to execute this, you are going to open a lot of positions. So we need to open just one position at a time. So for that, what we are going to do is to put here a function to say, well, we are going to add a condition first here that says, hey, I only want to open a position when this value is 0 or less. So we are going to put here trade ticket less or equal than 0. And let me change this here, down here. We are going to also put here this, and only here. But you may say, hey, okay, so here you are changing the value and you are not resetting the value again. So in order to reset it, we are going to put here an if, and we are going to check if there's a position open. Position, I don't remember again, let me open the GitHub. So here I have it, position select by ticket, and you just have to put here position select by ticket, and you have to use the trade ticket that you declared. So for example, if the trade ticket is 0, this will return that nothing. But so it will return the, well, it will return that no position is open because the ticket 0 doesn't work. But if there's a ticket open, this will return true and it won't do anything. But in case there's not a position open with the ticket that we have here, we have to reset the ticket. So we are going to put here trade ticket equal to 0. So now, once we've done that, we have operations open, like we just have one operation open at the same time. But we may say, hey, I also want that some time is between operation. I also want that. So for example, I want to have 10 candles between operations. For that, we are going to set an alarm. And in order to set that alarm, we are going to call the event send timer. And let me check my GitHub again, because we have to take the current number of seconds in each period. So to do that, we have to use this function that I copied, which is this one. So we have to take the period sequence of the period current, which is the current period, and this will return the number of seconds of each candle. So now we multiply that by the number of candles that we want. So for example, let's say that we want 40 candles between each trade. So we put that here, and what this is basically doing is that whenever you open a position, you will call this function, and when 40 candles passes, this alarm will be called, and you will call one function, which is this one. So whenever this happens, you are going to call, void on timer, I think it was, on timer. And this function will be called, and here in this function, what we are going to do is, well, let me explain another thing, is that, well, in order to not have the operations open, we need to use a flag, and this is going to be the flag, the time passed variable. So here, we are going to set another condition, which is that time passed must be true. So if time passed is not true, then we are not going to open a position. So here, what we are going to do is that whenever we open a position, we are going to put this as false. And now what it happens is that, okay, if the time has not passed, we are not going to open another position. We are not, because this value is false and we are not allowing that here. But when the time passes, what we are going to do is to open the position, well, to change the value of the variable by putting here the time passed equal to true. So I think that's everything for the bot. Let me see if I'm wrong anywhere. And yeah, I'm just wrong here because I have to put here the bit value. And we change this, we put here bit. I have to change here also that we have to put here bit. And now what we have to do is to load, well, to compile. We click here in compile. Let me compile again. We compile, and now we have to check if everything works. So now we come here to the MetaTrader and we select the bot that we just created. So we are going to check this, well, we are going to click this, the EMAs, and we are going to set the period on which we want to work. So for example, 15 minutes, and yeah, from this date, for example, we want to work in the EURUSD, and here we are going to select this so we can see if the bot works correctly. So now everything is working, and we see that we have two moving averages. One is the 25 and the other one is the 100. So here you see that there was a cross, a down cross, because the 25 is above and the 100 is below, and they crossed, so we open a sell position, and that's okay. Here they almost crossed, but they didn't, and here you see that they crossed, but yeah, this one was a bad one, this one was a bad one, and probably here this one was a bad one as well. And since this one was opened, here there was another cross, but nothing was open because there are not 40 candles between each trade. So that's cool, and let's continue. And you see that yeah, this bot is not going to make you millionaire or anything, because yeah, it's not working very fine. Here you can see that you are opening, well, this one was very good. And yeah, that's it, basically it. So this is how the bot works, how to create an EMA bot. And let me show you another thing, that is that if you remove this and you just want to check if the bot is profitable or not, you click here on start, but then you click on graphic. So here in the graphic you are checking how the bot performed, and you are checking that hey, it didn't do that bad. So for example, if you want, you can make the time frame in which you want to check the operations bigger, and let's say that we want to check from 2018, and again we press start, we press the graphic, and here now you are testing your strategy from that time period. So you are seeing that now, since there are more operations, you can check that the bot is not profitable as you may think. So that's very cool. Let me show you one last thing, that is this menu, that here you have all the information, and you can see here that hey, the bot is profitable only at 35% of the operations. So it did 600 operations and only the 31% were profitable. So that's everything for this video. I hope that you enjoyed this video, that you enjoyed how to create an EMA bot, and if so, give it a like, share, subscribe, and see you in the next one.
Ay.